Hello and welcome to the 135th episode of the Gochuucast. And a commenter that said, "Can you talk about anime?" We will, but you're gonna have to give me a second. This is still
To be
anime.
fair, we tried to talk about anime last time, and then
Then I got mad, and then we played Scribble. Then we
yeah,
went
and
back
then I made
talking
you
about
mad.
anime, kind of.
Yeah.
Anime adjacent. We talked about anime controversies.
I think the one before
Well, I
that
mean,
was
that is,
worse,
yeah.
right?
I don't remember what the one before that was, to be honest.
I think the episode before that we spent like 30 minutes not talking about anime.
Let's see. We have the last episode, then we have We Love Mid Anime. But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't talk about anime in that one for as long. Anyway, this is anime adjacent at the very least, and it relates to something we talked about however many episodes back. I don't remember exactly, but there was an article that I saw on Twitter from Bloomberg, and this is usually when we talk about anime articles, we're making fun of them for being bad. And how it's like how Kirito would solo Attack on Titan's universe or some shit, but that's not this. This is a business article.
See?
So we talked about Sony's potential acquisition of Katakawa. They did kind of do that. So they bought like 10% shares. So they're like the biggest shareholder in Katakawa. They bought a bunch of shares and they're going to be working like hand in hand on some business stuff. But that's not actually what this article is about. So this article is still kind of about Sony in a sense, but it relates more to the Crunchyroll side of things than anything. I'll link the article for you both.
I think I remember you saying something about this.
This came out today, so I don't think I
I
said
hadn't-
anything.
Yeah.
Maybe not then.
I mentioned that I like before we started the episode. I mentioned I had something. Mine was something actually related to this as well, but it was less interesting. But yeah, go ahead.
So
You
we can talk about
I
it
remember
after then.
seeing something
was related
posted
to this,
about
though.
Sony and Katakawa.
Yeah, so this is Sony Crunchyroll specifically. So what
Gotcha.
happened? So this is a Bloomberg article. I'll probably link it in the description, but it's from Cecilia D. Anastasio and Takashi Mochizuki. So it's titled "Sony's Crunchyroll finds its early lead in anime under attack," and it's kind of talking about Disney and Netflix expanded, and this doesn't really feel like someone. Like when I read the article, it doesn't really feel like someone who's like super into anime. So this is like a more probably objective look at some industry things, and so I think within this article they interviewed 18 people, former and current employees at Crunchyroll, and so obviously, so first it talks about how with anime rising in popularity, like more companies are looking to get into this sphere. So like Netflix, Disney, Amazon, they're all like, throwing some money at this. And what that does is it makes it more expensive for Crunchyroll to compete. And it calls Crunchyroll a niche service, which I don't know if I would call it niche. But I guess comparatively
compared to these other ones,
to Netflix, Disney, and Amazon, like you're getting more than just anime if you're subscribing to any of them. So I guess that's why they call it niche, because Crunchyroll is you're getting anime. That's all you're getting from that. So internally,
I would probably call Crunchyroll niche, but it's not like
in the grand
like
scheme
niche
of things,
isn't like a bad thing, also, right?
Yeah, it's the largest service for a niche, and therefore makes it niche still comparative to other companies. Like obviously Crunchyroll is a part of Sony because Crunchyroll is just like it acts as like a branch or something. It's not like a conglomerate. Internally, employee support for management and its vision has trailed downward in the recent months. And they set really ambitious goals for subscribers that are unlikely to be met. I feel that to a different extent, but and it also talks about how its video games and e-commerce aren't going well, which we all knew that anyway.
Yeah.
So this is something we probably what's next in the article is something we talked about before. I feel like we actually talked about it recently. But
it was like a month ago, right?
maybe. There's a growth in casual anime viewers, but not core anime fans. I don't remember when we talked about that. We were probably making fun of anime fans for something. Um,
Maybe.
Research manager at Ampere Analysis, which follows the media and entertainment business. Those casual fans will tend to watch it on Netflix or Amazon Prime, which are more technically mainstream. Crunchyroll declined to make any of its executives available for this story. So yeah, this entire story is just based on current and former employees, which are probably more trustworthy than executives anyway.
Yes.
Obviously, they don't want to be identified, so that's the thing. But let's see. In an emailed statement, Crunchyroll said its exclusive titles, theatrical releases, events, merchandise, and games offer everything an anime enthusiast could want. Classic. Um, and the company also said they're still outperforming financial expectations. So I guess this doesn't say like Crunchyroll's dying, but there are problems going forward that are starting to make itself more known as we get a little deeper into the article.
It's like kind of hard to tell because, like we said, um, Crunchyroll is the top of a niche product,
Yes.
right? However, all of these other more like well-rounded services that are more accessible to casual people, you know, um, they are taking some of that viewership, but they're also exposing more people. So it's like there's a little bit of give and take there, right?
Yeah, I think they talk.
Now I don't know
Crunchyroll
whether it's
says
positive
something
or
about that.
negative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, just
but
think about something like Dawn the Dawn, which we're actually going to talk about later for something pretty insane that's in this article. But like if someone wants to, like, one of the reasons Dawn to Dawn might be so popular is it was already getting a lot of hype. It fits into like the typical anime blow up mold with the type of show that it is. But it was also not only on Crunchyroll but on Netflix. And
yeah,
so the more casual fan who's like, I don't want to pay $10 or whatever to go watch Dawn to Dawn, like, oh, I already have a Netflix subscription. I can just go watch on that.
yeah. I started watching anime exclusively as just what they had on Netflix because I already had a Netflix. Like that's not an uncommon thing. Now, granted, not everyone is gonna convert from that into whatever my relation is to anime now, 5, 6 years later.
Yeah.
But it's still like there is a percentage of those people that will, see the couple shows that are on the Netflix or Disney Plus and stuff like that, and then eventually convert into um Crunchyroll consumers as well.
Yeah. So since its founding in 2006, Crunchyroll has been the go-to destination for Western anime viewers. Originally a site for pirated content, the company over time licensed almost all of the major anime programs from Japanese studios. Talks about how Crunchyroll was a special place to work for people who actually liked the medium. They were the ones making the deals for new shows. They were monitoring the data, and they were, their offices were themed, with anime. They felt heard by bosses, etc. And apparently, the employees, even during their worst moments, used to joke like, "Well, we don't work for Funimation," which was owned by Sony, and then Sony bought Crunchyroll. So a little irony there. So whenever that did happen, Sony buying Crunchyroll, tension rose immediately, apparently, between Funimation and Crunchyroll. Because in a Zoom meeting, this is a really interesting. This is like one of the things you never feel like you would actually see in a meeting. But in a Zoom meeting announcing the decision, Funimation workers accused Crunchyroll of being pirates because of the site's history.
It
And then
just
the
sounds funny.
the Crunchyroll chief executive officer and general manager both left in the later months after the acquisition. Um, so yeah, I guess they were not really feeling the new purchase, and so they dipped out. Let's see,
Yeah,
current.
so I'm gonna refrain from saying a ton. Um, but I do have a friend who worked for Crunchyroll in not the anime department, but worked for Crunchyroll around the time that the Sony acquisition and everything happened. And from the little bit he's told me, there was a lot of inner tension with that, and just kind of like the Sony side and the Crunchyroll side not meshing super well.
Yeah. So going on, it says current or former employees. You'll never know who. Could be current, could be former. Who knows? Describe Crunchyroll's new management, who are primarily from Funimation, as out of touch with anime fans and employees. Some of the executives apparently write off anime as kids' cartoons, and that they don't like to hire job candidates who describe themselves as fans of anime, probably because they think it's kid cartoons.
That's crazy.
Yeah, customers weren't very happy either, because whenever Crunchyroll absorbed Funimation, apparently digital copies of anime purchased through Funimation did not survive the transition. So basically, people wasted their money on that whenever they bought them. Since the acquisition, the company has undergone 3 rounds of layoffs. Current employees say their strategy is unclear. And so only 39% of workers surveyed recently said that management communicated a strategy that motivates them. And that's down from 51%, so a 12% drop from a previous poll. And apparently another reorganization is planned for early 2025, according to a couple people who heard it's coming. So probably like another round of layoffs or something.
Yeah.
In response to this claim, Crunchyroll said its staff has grown by 27%, but it would not clarify since when or whether Funimation staff were counted towards the increase, which they probably were. So grown by 27% after absorbing an entire other company and then laying people off. So it's corpo speak. The company said it has over 100 open positions at offices around the world, which could mean a lot of different things. Like, you could have like 2 positions open here, 2 over there. Like, it doesn't mean that like that you have a bunch of positions open. Crunchyroll's internal growth plan includes an initiative called 25 by 25, meaning 25 million subscribers by the end of 2025, which, if we go back to the start of the article, it mentioned that Crunchyroll has 15 million currently. So, yeah, they
Just
are
got
not
to double in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see if they get that. Yeah, and apparently, like, they're overachieving on financial projections, regardless, which makes no sense. Like, why is your goal so? Well, actually, no. There is a reason the goal is so high, which I'll get to in a second.
Well, it's also catchy, right?
That is literally what it's gonna say later. Is they're like they literally have this catchphrase because it sounds nice. Yeah. So I mean, and the worst part is it sounds nice, but then like higher management probably is like, guys, we aren't hitting 25 million subscribers. Like, what are we doing? You guys aren't
what's
working hard enough.
happening?
Yeah, what's going wrong? Even though like it's just only that goal was set entirely because it was catchy. Anyway, the goal the company set in internal documents is to give it a large enough base of subscribers to compete for new shows with more mainstream services such as Netflix and Warner Bros. So I guess Crunchyroll is kind of having issues right now with I guess usually they have more exclusives, but now they have other people coming in who are driving up the price, and like, fuck, we can get like a couple of these really big shows each year, but now instead of like all of them for a much lower price.
It's interesting because, like, let's use Netflix as an example, right? Netflix, from what I know about with their exclusives, is generally kind of picky with what they pick. But there's so much money in Netflix that it's like, in the scope of anime and just thinking about the general money, like whatever couple shows Netflix picks in a season that they want, they probably can just get.
Yeah.
More or less.
And so reading this next one, so 15 million might not be like their current subscriber count, but they're probably not much higher than that, like maybe 20 million at the max. Because the company isn't likely to meet that target, according to insiders. Like, who could have fucking guessed? Like, you didn't get an extra 10 million subscribers within whatever, like a year. The goal wasn't based on rigorous analysis of the markets, but instead designed to project a big, catchy number, they said. Yeah, so, yeah, okay.
I respect that, but also that feels more like the type of thing that like the employees would come up with and just say is like, motivation, right? Not a real business goal.
Yeah, and
And
this
maybe it's not. Maybe it's just something that they say and it's a little out of context, but
yeah, I mean, we're getting this from like insiders, so they could just be like pissy about it, be like, yep, that's their goal, that's what it is. But who
yeah.
knows? The projections call for tripling subscribers in India and Southeast Asia, for example, yet in the second half of fiscal 2024, only one of the 6 major regional markets that Crunchyroll set targets for was on pace to meet its goal, according to data reviewed by Bloomberg, and that market was Latin America, which not too surprising. They have like the whole meme is that like Latin America is really big on like Dragon Ball or whatever, so I'm not surprised that they're like
Yeah.
a market that meets its goal.
Yeah, I guess it depends on their goal specifically, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's tripling subscribers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tripling is a lot.
Crunchyroll is expanding to new markets, including India, to draw potential long-term subscribers. The service is available in India for $1 a month,
Mhm.
a price that's likely too low to be profitable, according to 5 current and former employees. Couldn't have guessed that
Yes.
only $1 wouldn't be very profitable, but I mean,
Yeah,
if
I
you're not
think the
making
limiting
money there anyway, I guess you may as
yeah, the
well.
limiting factor there is just a lot of like um I mean, internet access and stuff like that. I mean, that's like just always going to be a limiting factor there.
I
Yeah.
guess the idea with having it that low is that there's such a high population, but yeah, internet access kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, it
that
has to be cheaper there
idea.
because incomes are lower there, but it's also
Yeah.
like okay, incomes are lower, but like you have to have like you have to have like for us in America, it seems very easy. Like, oh, you just have to have internet to watch anime, but like think about it, like video streaming, like that's still like you have to have like a reasonably decent internet to stream video, right? Like
Yeah.
for us in America, it
Mhm.
seems like nothing, but like
And not just to
it
stream
is.
video, like
Yeah.
stream at a decent quality too.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
also feel like from like the idea of gaining casual viewership, and this is something I feel like always felt like Funimation did really well that Crunchyroll necessarily didn't, but like pushing dubs early, if what you want is to get like the casual viewer base and increase just like your normal outreach, is huge. Like
Mm.
the one thing that I always felt like Funimation did really good compared to Crunchyroll was like getting dubs early and getting a lot of dubs out there.
Yeah, like
Because that's something that brings those people, right? Because, and I would say this applies to most anime fans, a lot of us started by watching dubs,
Yep.
right? It's only later that we really got used to like, oh, well, if I, watch stuff subbed in the original language, then it's like I can get more content
yeah.
most of the time.
Right.
And a lot of it is
Or maybe
also
it's just like feels like better translations and et cetera, right?
yeah, a lot of it is like getting the dubs for the right shows too. Like you can't just be like, "Yep,
Hmm.
we got the dub, we're simul dubbing reincarnated as a vending machine." No one's gonna fucking watch that. Like obviously you need to get the Don to Don dub has been I don't know if it's simul, I think it might be, but it's like pretty much caught up at worst. But
Yep.
basically, like 99% of the people who are watching the Don to Don dub, they're not gonna watch the reincarnated as a vending machine dub sub whatever the fuck. Like it doesn't matter.
This is like one of the big things with My Hero, right? My Hero consistently had simul dubs on Funimation for like the first 3 or 4 seasons.
Even then, like even if it wasn't simul, like they still got it like pretty quickly, regardless. Like it's just important to have like be on top of the big ones.
Yeah.
Crunchyroll says it has subtitles or dubs for shows in 12 different languages. Yet Crunchyroll is struggling to hang on to subscribers, with insiders saying its 2025 target has been pushed to year end. According to an internal document that has been seen by Bloomberg, the company aims to cap monthly churn, or customer turnover rate, at 8.5%. And that suggests that the actual rate could be higher and well above the 5% average rate that's typical at streaming services. So basically they're losing people, which doesn't so like some people are like, fuck, dude, I guess I'll have to get the Crunchyroll subscription to watch this one show, and then the show ends, and then people are out.
The show ends.
It's not the same as like a Netflix or something where it's like, yeah, I got it to watch this like random documentary, but then there's like also more stuff on Netflix or something like that they can go watch, and so I just kept it.
It's actually very interesting that they are having dubs for like Indian languages, because it's like, if you think about it, the population of people who would have decent internet and would be interested in anime
Probably speak English anyway.
Yeah, yeah, especially in India, where it's like the more educated people like generally speak, like especially young people generally in bigger cities speak English. So it's like, it is kind of surprising. I mean, I was gonna say that like, oh, they may have done some market research, but based on everything in this article, it doesn't seem like they've done as much research as they maybe should have. So I was gonna say that maybe they've done some research that like having a dub would actually be, profitable or whatever. But based on what I'm
I
reading,
would love
like,
to actually have like research numbers on stuff like that.
they'll never do that.
Wait,
They're probably like,
we're going to be talking a lot
yeah.
more about the marketing section of things a little bit later. They're not doing research, let me tell you that. At least based on what I'm seeing.
That's why it surprised me. So
yeah. So current and former employees are concerned that mainstream streamers are closing in on Crunchyroll's territory. Shortly after the acquisition, Sony's acquisition of Crunchyroll, Netflix licensed JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and then suddenly one of Crunchyroll's most popular series was also on Netflix, and its next season was exclusively on Netflix. With their greater reach and higher licensing budgets, Netflix and Disney are vacuuming up hit anime programs like Dungeon Meshi and Little Witch Academia from key Crunchyroll suppliers. Disney purchased the rights to Tokyo Revengers, which was, even if it fell off, it was still popular then. And Disney snagged up the second season of that. According to a survey... Go ahead.
I love Little Witch Academia, but counting that as hit anime program is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say that. Like, there are definitely other things you could have mentioned from Netflix and Disney that are not Little Witch like Dungeon Meshi is actually, I think, pretty popular.
Dungeon Meshi is valid, yeah. Because I think Dungeon Meshi really hit it off with the casual.
And not that Little Witch Academia isn't popular, but it's also a little dated comparative to like other, like, it's not like it came out like within the past couple of years and then people snagged it up.
It hasn't gotten a new season or anything recently either. Because if it's something like that, then it would be once again fair enough.
Yeah. According to a survey of over 4,000 Americans earlier this year by the online gaming and entertainment site Polygon, 76% of Gen Z anime fans watch shows on Netflix compared to 58% on Crunchyroll. Let's see. Crunchyroll argues that we talked about this earlier, that sharing shows with Netflix and Disney's Hulu broadens customer interest in anime and will technically bring more subscribers to the service, which probably isn't untrue, but I'm wondering if the percentage of people who are going to forego Crunchyroll to watch it on these other ones versus the people who are converted into bigger anime fans and then buy Crunchyroll, like I can't imagine the turnover rate there is in their favor. Like, I think less casual viewers are going to convert to bigger anime fans than casual anime fans who just leave Crunchyroll for other sites.
Yeah.
Let's see. Producing anime normally costs around $200,000, $300,000 an episode on average, which the anime studios easily cover through deals with Western distributors, according to industry workers in Japan. And apparently, due to high competition, license fees for popular shows are going through the roof. And that's obviously going to affect Crunchyroll. Toho and Toei Animation, who are two big anime producers, are interested in licensing to competitors with more potential reach to general audiences, according to industry staffers in Japan, which Crunchyroll is not general audiences comparative to like Netflix or something, which is exampled by Netflix's streaming Toho's Beastars, and Toho is now distributing films on its own in the US and recently bought animation distributor G-Kids. Toei announced last year that it will team up with Netflix for the One Piece remake or whatever the fuck. And that was after they had a successful live action. Crunchyroll this is something that PK and I are involved in. Crunchyroll management figured they could hook Crunchyroll subscribers on mobile games based on their favorite shows. According to 3 people familiar with the strategy, but that initiative has struggled. Over the past 2 years, 3 games have shut down, including Princess Connect Redive,
Woo.
while the company has launched 4 others. Last month, all of the games except for one brought in sales of less than $5,000 each on their platforms, according to data from Sensor Tower. Although Crunchyroll invested a large sum developing its One Punch Man World game, the United States license for the show got snagged up by Hulu, so they don't even own the show that they're making a game out of, or publishing a game out of at least. The game hasn't received an update in months, which has made fans complain. So yeah, Crunchyroll sucks at games. Executives also hoped merchandise. Did you have something to say?
Well, I was gonna say, to be fair, like if there's anything since I've played gacha games that I've noticed, it's staying power doesn't really matter that much. Like, it's cool if your gacha game is popular enough that it can sustain, but honestly, most of them are just quick cash grabs. That's kind of like the game, right?
Yeah.
To put something out that people are going to spend a lot of money on early, and then as you kind of just watch, and it's like as the player base dies out, at some point you'll be like, okay, game's dead, on to the next. And when you make the next, those players will go play the next game. I mean, at
Right.
some point they kind of catch on, like, oh, this company puts out shit games, right? But it's
Like Crunchyroll. I mean, $5,000 is pretty pathetic for like a gacha
like,
game.
yeah, like I know people who play all of these gacha games and will end up spending hundreds of dollars on every single new one that they pick up. And like, you still have to win those people over and convince them to play the game in the first place, but
Yeah.
I think the whole mobile game industry, like pre-con in the in the scope of gacha games, especially like global releases, was honestly pretty successful overall, right?
And it could have been even more
Lasted
if
a
like,
couple years.
because they really botched like the first number of months for, and then
Yes.
eventually they finally like got a system down. But by that point, they had lost so much like player goodwill that
Yes.
you know it just didn't really matter anymore. Like it was fated to die out eventually.
It's been a very I mean, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but having a friend who worked in the mobile games and everything at Crunchyroll was kind of a interesting experience with seeing all of the stuff that happened with things around that time period.
Yeah.
Because there's like not important info that I have necessarily, but just like more context I have to a lot of those things.
Right. Moving on to merchandising. Executives also hope merchandising would help retain subscribers and boost revenue, current and former employees said, which I guess that doesn't really make sense, to be honest. Like, you're not going to really retain subscribers out of that. Maybe you boost revenue, just like because you're selling manga and stuff, but their idea was viewers could binge manga comics between anime seasons instead of pausing their monthly fee or purchase figures of their favorite characters. After taking over the anime merchandise retailer Right Stuff, rest in peace, for an undisclosed sum in 2022, Crunchyroll's online store was poised to offer manga, DVDs, and toys. The business has shrunk since the acquisition, according to 3 former employees, which is insane. And because one of the reasons, Sony asked Crunchyroll to pull the racier adult manga and toys that formed about 5% of Right Stuff's revenue. So they isolated the Gooner population, which that's not a good way to make money, right there. The Gooners are a very powerful base, especially
They're
for
also
money.
the ones most willing to spend like large amounts of money,
The
right?
whales.
Yeah, like think about like out of every single thing of anime and manga, and when we say racier, I mean we mean like there's fan service and stuff in manga, but I mean like they're talking about like the gooner stuff when they're talking about like these
I've
adult
never been on
manga.
Right Stuff, so I don't know how crazy it gets. Wait, got.
I don't know. Right Stuff had a lot. Like they had everything you could ever want, and you're talking like 5% is
Mhm.
just gooners. So that's a lot of money right there, probably. But anyway, over the summer, Crunchyroll laid off employees working in its video games and e-commerce initiatives. Let's see. Okay, this is where a lot of the big stuff comes in. This is some classic businessman stuff. One concern among Crunchyroll employees and its licensors is the marketing, overseen by Marcus Gerdeman, a senior vice president. He was hired by Funimation after marketing several popular Netflix shows like Unorthodox, but he had little experience with anime. Gerdeman brought in former advertising agency colleagues whom Crunchyroll employees came to refer to as the Boys Club. 7 current and former employees said Gerdeman isn't experienced enough for his role and overseen changes in strategy that cost the company money. In the past year, he has angered both Toei and Toho, according to current and former employees. In July, for example, Toei representatives were underwhelmed at a Crunchyroll concert for the hit anime One Piece held on the San Diego Bay during Comic-Con. The signature ship from the program sailed by, but it wasn't lit up, and so many of those who were in attendance could not see it. Gerdeman oversaw this event. Then in October, Gerdeman sent an email seen by staff, or sent an email to staff seen by Bloomberg, so it's a real email, asking them not to promote the important Toho title Dandadan. Due to ongoing acquisition discussions, we decided not to further lean into the promotion of Dandadan, the email read. The show was also streaming on Netflix, where it debuted as the second most viewed non-English show.
So we
So that's
told them
insane.
not to promote the show because it had dual rights. I
I
guess.
guess I don't know, something got under his skin, got his feathers tickled, and he said, you know what, fuck it, don't promote one of the most popular fucking shows that is out right now. Don't promote it, which is insane. Like, that's probably, it's funny because the other day, like, Mars didn't think that Crunchyroll even had Dawn to Dawn because they're not fucking promoting it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've been watching it on Netflix.
Yeah, so like,
Because we even talked about how the 3 shows we're watching are all on different services. So whenever we watch, we're just like switching around.
yeah, so like, that's insane to me that your head marketing guy is like, let's just not market this extremely important show to us. Like, how?
It's interesting
It's actually
because
insane.
and this is, to me, this is kind of highlighted more by the first one with the being underwhelmed about the concert not being done in a way, because it's like this really is an industry where I feel like you have to be someone who's really into the product, which is why, like, hearing a lot of things earlier about, them being like, well, we don't really want people who are like fans, right?
Like, anime's for
Because
kids, dude. Like, we don't
they
want
see it
anime
like looks
fans.
down on. Yeah, but at the same time, like, knowing the industry and even seeing examples in here, like, this is one of the industries where, like, being a fan is probably one of the most important traits you can get, other than like actual, skills at whatever your position is,
Yeah, because
right?
it's different than like acquiring the rights to like Breaking Bad or some shit. Because Breaking Bad's just a TV show, right? It's a Western TV show. You watch it, you like it, then you can watch any other show and like have no connection to Breaking Bad, and it doesn't matter. But like, anime is a culture, like it is a medium, and there's a large culture around that medium. It's not the same as like watching Breaking Bad and Walking Dead and shit like that. Those are entertainment shows that people like, but they're not like, there's not like a culture around that type of show. They're just shows that people like. And so if you're not a fan of anime, like, it's just interesting to me that you're like, yeah, let me go be the marketing guy here. I don't really understand the market, but like, who does he think the anime fan? Like, does he think anime fans just like watch Doc McStuffins like on the side or
Well,
something
and the
like that?
worst,
Like, I just don't understand.
the worst
So
part is so it says he's senior vice president,
yeah,
and
senior vice
it said
president.
multiple times like he's the one who oversees marketing.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet the bigger problem is that the people he brought in are also not people, like, they're people that he might believe in from a business standpoint, but they're not people connected to anime.
Yeah, like
Because I think someone in a senior vice president role wouldn't necessarily have to be like a huge fan of the product, but certainly the people that he's overseeing, right, that are really like putting in the work and effort to do stuff like the One Piece concert and stuff like that need to be people who are passionate about it and want to like see a good overall product and not just like, oh, we gotta do this concert.
Yeah, we talked about it like a couple paragraphs up where it said he brought in like former advertising agency
Yeah,
colleagues.
I'm
Yeah,
highlighting that again.
yeah. I'm highlighting your highlight. It's what we talk about. Like they refer to him as the boys club or whatever. So they probably have no fucking idea because, and this guy apparently had little experience with anime. They're probably giving him more credit than he's due. He probably had no experience with this shit, and so he brings in his colleagues who probably also have no experience with this. And so you just bring in a bunch of people who don't care about the medium, who are trying to look at this as a business, and they don't understand the business. And so now you just have like a bunch of like dumb fucks trying to figure out what they're doing, and then they can just, I don't know.
It's also just hard to like quantify passion with something like this, right? Um, which is probably what throws them off a lot. Because it really is an industry that is just like lives and dies by passion and fan bases that live and die by passion. And so it's like, I think that's a hard thing for like strictly business people to fully grasp sometimes.
Yeah. At least 2 people who worked for Gerdeman filed complaints to Human Resources about his management, one of them alleging sexist behavior, and the other accusing him of creating a hostile work environment. Sony investigated the allegations of sexism, and he was cleared. 7 people speaking with Bloomberg said Gerdeman has negatively impacted employee morale. He unsurprisingly did not respond to requests for comment, and neither did Sony.
Yeah, incompetence is one thing, but that is just
He's incompetent and he's an asshole who's also
Yeah,
sexist and probably does more than that, but were you
yeah.
allegedly?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I can't say for sure, but
Allegedly.
it's like
For sure, allegedly. In Minecraft.
Yeah, there we go.
Japanese manga publishers such as Shogakukan Incorporated, Shueisha, and Kodansha are also unhappy with how Crunchyroll manages merchandise rights. The company often makes and sells merchandise or collectibles such as figures or posters in ways that the publishers don't approve. According to both Crunchyroll employees and staffers in the Japanese publishing industry, Crunchyroll didn't... Oh, wait, oh, fuck, I read that so wrong. According to both employees and staffers in the Japanese publishing industry, Crunchyroll did not respond. Crunchyroll didn't respond to any of this, basically, except for the part where they're like, we are anime company, we like anime, blah, 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 that we read at the start. Anyway. Reports...
Say in more details what they mean by that.
It doesn't
makes
say...
and sells merchandise in ways that the publishers don't approve. I'm just kind of curious.
It doesn't show... There's no like detail on that part, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Makes an... Yeah, I don't... I'm trying to think of like how that would be. Because, I mean, they don't... I don't feel like Crunchyroll actually makes the merchandise at all. They just sell the shit. They might have some merchandise, but in ways they don't approve. Yeah, I don't know. No clue.
I guess maybe that's like Crunchyroll makes a figure for popular character from Don, for example, and they just kind of like maybe do it themselves. Like they don't really talk to company. They just kind of have an idea.
They're probably
like, all right, let's make it.
Difficult to communicate with or some shit like that. I don't know.
Oh, they're terrible to communicate with.
Well, obviously, yeah.
I can confirm that one.
Not all of them. You know what? Shout out Crunchyroll support. I don't remember the name of the guy who helped me with my problem on their store, but he fixed it immediately. So shout out to that guy. And apparently he's everyone's goat. I've heard multiple comments on this one specific guy. Yeah, so either either he solves like all their problems, or they just put his name on all the emails. But
that's kind of fun that there's just a guy.
There's the guy. He's really good at his support.
A lone savior.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I pre-ordered this. The pre-order date has passed, and it just hasn't shipped. And he's like, yeah, I'll look into that. And then like literally fucking half an hour later, I got a shipping confirmation email.
Oh.
I'm like, holy shit, dude, like, this guy's crazy. Anyway, reports from Crunchyroll detailing sales for revenue sharing purposes aren't considered trustworthy. 3 Japanese anime industry employees said.
Bad.
The let's see. The U.S. company's attitude made some heavyweight manga authors upset as their characters were used in ways that they didn't want. So I guess they
Okay.
like use them in marketing in some capacity, and authors didn't like that.
I think this is also adding to what we were just talking about before. Like, I think this is connected. So, like,
Yeah,
me saying that they just like might pick characters that they want to make like figures or merchandise for, and they just kind of like do it without any like conversation with the companies, or in this case, the authors. Not
yeah,
that
and then
they would
also
be
like
talking to the authors directly, but
yeah, and like the first thing we read
the
were
first
like the
part's
Japanese like industry people are like, yeah, they're probably bullshitting their revenue sharing like the sales reports or whatever, and probably pocketing more than they should if they don't find them
that's like
trustworthy.
not the reputation you want to have at all
Yeah, it's really bad.
in any industry, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sony just announced that it is okay. We talked about this at the start. That it is taking increased its stake in Katakawa to 10% as a broader business relationship. Sony has long had a strong position distributing anime outside of Japan, but doesn't own much of the content. Companies said they plan to invest in properties jointly and market them globally through Sony's distribution network. Their strengthened alliance could also give other Japanese studios more incentive to find different distribution partners, industry insiders said. So, yeah, that is the end of the article there. A lot of damning information for Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I mean that is bad news after bad news. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like a level of incompetence. It's like hard to believe. Especially, I mean, the part about marketing just like does not. It
Yeah,
just doesn't
like they
make sense.
literally just have like 8 bumbling clowns like in marketing or whatever.
It is. I know this is like the most cliche thing to say ever, but like, it is not. You'd be surprised how many companies are run with like run by incompetent people. Like I know that is the most like. Oh
I
my
mean,
god!
I'm not surprised because I mean I work at
But
one.
it's true. It's true.
Allegedly.
Like not every company, but you'd be surprised how many are.
Oh, I mean, a lot of the big ones aren't because there's like a lot of. I feel like you know the bigger the company is, like the harder it's gonna be for like they're not gonna fire like because if Crunchyroll is outperforming their financial whatever's, they're not gonna look at marketing but like they're not doing a good enough job. We gotta fire them.
Yeah.
And so until Crunchyroll like starts to fail, like nothing's gonna change.
Yeah. Sometimes things are just too good to fail. Like if the guy who's in charge of Coca-Cola is incompetent, the brand has just it is just so like ubiquitous and it is such a massive cultural impact that it's almost like too big to fail, right? So
Yeah,
like
like recently Coke
yeah.
used like for their holiday, what's it called? Like they made like their commercial was just AI. Like they made it entirely through AI, pretty much, and they got a
Yeah.
lot of shit for that. But like, well, I
Doesn't
mean,
matter.
they don't care. Like at the end
I
of the
mean,
day,
I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It may have like very small impacts and it may have like larger impacts down the line. But yeah, point is, you'd be surprised how many people, how much incompetence there really is in the world.
yeah.
Shame, but
I mean,
that's
it's only gonna
reality.
continue,
I think it's
especially
also
Crunchyroll.
just it's just like a factor of comfort for a lot of people, right? Like so many people get into certain positions where like they're comfortable with other factors in life or their pay or stuff like that, and it's like lack of desire because it's great. So looking at this from the perspective of like upper management at a company like Crunchyroll, right? It's great and it's fun to say something like, yeah, 25 for 25, right? But so many of those people will just say those things or like something along those lines and be like, yeah, the people below me will get that done. Like I don't need to drive that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because those people get in such like comfortable spots up above.
Yeah, there was I watched a YouTube short earlier from Pirate Software, and he worked at like Activision Blizzard and Amazon this was, I'm pretty sure the story he told was probably from Amazon. He didn't say in the short specifically, but he talked about how one of the biggest problems in like managing a company is that, I mean, think of like like telephone or Gartic phone or whatever the fuck. Like things are gonna get
Yeah.
goofy by the end of whatever communication line you're going through, or like there's just gonna be problems going through a big line of people. And so apparently, the ultimate big boss of where he was working had like a system for this, where instead you don't have to go to like your superior who has to go to their superior who has to go to another superior, and like, you know, things might get fucked along the way. You could literally just email the top dog. Like that was one of the policies. Like, yeah, just you have a problem, you can just email me, and that, you know, probably promotes like a much more like integrity based work environment,
Yeah.
because people know that, like, well, you know, if I fuck around in my position, that's here in the, like the near the top of the food chain, but not quite the top, like, you know, someone could just email the fucking big guy, and then I have a
Yeah.
problem. So like,
Is Pirate Software the dude with long hair and glasses that like
yeah,
writes on that? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. I was just confirming. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen him on YouTube.
yeah, smart guy, really smart guy.
Yeah.
Very very interesting videos, but yeah, and that feels like something that could be basically the opposite of that is happening here, where employees are just like kind of at the mercy of whatever dumb fucks get put into higher up positions, and they just have to deal with it. Um, yeah.
Well,
So
it's just a factor of like the thing is, not all higher ups are bad, obviously,
not all of them,
right? But we only really hear about the bad ones because it's so like egregiously obvious, right?
yeah. Right.
And it's something that like is only talked about really when it's someone who's bad. But it's just for companies to really like grow in a way, like the whole 25 for 25, you know, talking about that. I don't know when they started talking about that, but like if that was something that the whole like company, the higher ups and everyone really embraced and knew what they were doing for, maybe it could have been a realistic thing, depending how long ago they started it, right?
Right.
But the problem and the reason why, when we're talking in the article about um Gerdeman overseeing marketing, is I'm and everything, him not knowing stuff, is I'm like, I bet he does not do a damn thing. And it's the problem is him, one, putting people in the position that are also not, you know, experienced or know what they're doing in the industry, but also two, just like let your underlings do it. They'll figure it out, right?
Right.
Like being upper management being too hands off with their final products or the products that they put out is like a really big issue in businesses these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Being separated or like having employees feel. Well, I mean, it's like it's a feeling thing, and it's also an
Yeah.
administrative. I don't know what the term is. Whatever, like a function.
And there's
It's
like a
probably
balance to it, right? Because people
yeah.
hate to be micromanaged and people hate
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be,
It's not.
but
Yeah.
like if it, people in those positions just annoy me because I'm like,
Yeah. I
you
feel that.
can't just like I think of the One Piece thing, right? The concert, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that is the one thing I see there that is 100% on the fault of the person overseeing that. Um, even if he didn't do a thing, right? Because it's like the one thing you got to do with something like that is impress the people who will be selling you product, right? The people who are going to be you know, giving and selling rights to shows that you want to do. You really cannot just like fuck around, you
Yeah.
know?
For sure.
Right.
I was yeah, the part about there were a couple articles I found um recently. Like one of them was kind of related to this, but and it was like it's not that interesting. But the other one I found kind of relating to that last paragraph. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the Sony acquiring
Yes.
Kadokawa. Let me link it if I can had it. Found it on my phone, so I have it on a mobile bookmark. Let's see, yeah, this should be it. But I can't remember if we mentioned this, but they like I didn't know there was like a data breach or something like that. Of
Oh yeah,
like
there was like a really big data breach for
yeah,
Kadokawa.
and so like so I mean this article, like it's a short article, it just mentions that like the current employees in Kadokawa are pretty kind of split, but mostly dissatisfied with the current administration just because of like um the current administration with the CEO. There's like a very slow response to this attack, which the hackers claim to have stolen a lot of personal information of employees. Um,
Hmm.
and because of like the administration's slow response, it seems like current employees are pretty dissatisfied with the current leadership. So the fact that Sony's acquiring Kadokawa, it seems like people are pretty at least some people within the organization are pretty optimistic about that. So it's interesting because we were discussing like whether this is a good or bad thing. But I mean, from the perspective of the employees, at least some of them, they seem to be pretty happy about it. Who knows how this affects their impact on the market and what they produce in
It's
the
not.
business as a whole. But it is interesting to see that like this is like something that I didn't know
It's
about.
not
So
to say that it won't be better for them in the long run, but I will say this screams like the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
yeah, possible. Yeah,
Like that's like 90% of what that feels like to me.
Yeah,
Although
yeah,
their reasoning is pretty valid,
yeah, like
right?
Kadokawa like greatly because it wasn't just like a hack where like things got leaked and it's like, oh well, like sometimes it happens type of thing. Like we couldn't have stopped it. It was a ransomware. They literally could have
Yes,
stopped it.
they absolutely could have
yeah.
stopped it.
They could have stopped it. Like,
Um,
meh, and then they let 1.5 terabytes of information leak, and then that's a lot. That's a lot of information.
I just think it's funny to be worded in a way where it's like they're excited for another company's leadership
Yeah, okay,
because
excited,
it's
but
just like
I don't know. When you get
um
affected by that, it's like kind of hard to see. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like realistically, like it would probably be harder for them work life wise, but like they just have such a disdain for the management they have now because of that situation. They're like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Like we'll take the hit in order to get them gone. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's interesting.
So that was the article I found. But yeah, thought it was interesting. We'll see what happens moving forward. But
like fun
yeah,
to hear, but then I also like there's like a tiny bit of eye roll from me, I guess, because I'm like at big companies, like it's super common to just be like, yeah, everyone's unsatisfied with leadership.
yeah,
For some of the reasons we've talked about, right? Leadership is also just feels generally weak in big companies. That a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of bloat. Like there's just too many different people. Like I don't know, because I'm just thinking about my job. I have me, like I'm the baseline starting grunt employee, and then I have a
okay,
department lead, then I have a department manager. There's store, or then there's like co-managers, then there's a store manager, and then above the store manager, there's like the fucking regional manager or whatever, and then yeah, it's just like, and even below the regional manager, there's probably like more lackeys that like still have some like level of management. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, surrounding the like, and it just keeps going up and up and up until you get to the dumb fuck at the top who like probably has literally no idea anything about the company other than the numbers behind it.
Like I
It's
think this is a totally legitimate reason for people to be frustrated with upper management, but also just hearing an article that's basically you know, employees are ready for a change because they're frustrated with upper management. To me, is kind of like I feel like you could put any company name on that, like any big name company, and
yeah.
the
I
sentiment
mean,
would be the same for one reason or another.
yeah. People always
That's why I
yeah.
say it screams like grass is always greener, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would agree normally. It's just I don't know, that data breach.
Adding
It's
the
just it's
adding
a
the
big thing
information
that
about the
like
data breach is a big deal
That
because that is
yeah,
a really big
because
issue.
that goes beyond just like general incompetence. Like I hate my job
yeah
because my job is like, oh, our department is only growing every like fucking second, and we're losing hours and employees like every second as well, and they're not doing anything to supplement that. That's great. But like here, it's like like a physical issue of like our data got like leaked. You have the opportunity to stop it, and you chose money over stopping it. So yeah, I mean it's just higher ups not caring about something. When you think like probably the people at the very top, either one don't care about their data breach or data getting breached, or two like their data is probably in like a separate like more secure location than like typical employees and like customer data and shit like that.
More likely that the other thing too, unfortunately, the way a lot of people in that position would just be like, well, it's already happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, no point in doing anything now. We've already fucked up. So,
Yeah, I mean, even
which,
though like they could have stopped like an even bigger fuck, like literally, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how much money the people wanted for the ransomware, but it was probably like nothing comparatively to like the goodwill you lose after like something like
yes,
that. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, the least surprising thing ever, big companies fucking suck.
stuff like that's always
yep.
funny to me because the consensus from a lot of people in upper positions like that, it's not even about money. It's like fake masculinity, right? Like, oh, we're not gonna give in.
Like acting like the tough guy, like, oh, we don't negotiate
Yeah,
with terrorists, even though this isn't even like a terrorist situation. This is literally just like, oh, like goofy hackers want money. We fucked up and had a vulnerability in our system. We have the chance to make this go away in some capacity, and then they don't. And then yeah, like I would say it's I don't want to say fair, but like if they're like, here we have all this information, or never pay us money, and then you pay the money, and then like a few months later they're like, you know what, we want more, or we'll leak it. You know, if obviously at some point you can't like
Mm.
win the negotiations, and you might just have to take the L. But you know, like at least the first time, like fuck, like at least try to stop the big data breach that you're ignoring.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, shit sucks. Shit sucks.
All
They're
right.
they're
Any anime things you guys did this week? I know
Yeah,
Daniel say?
the season's winding down, so I'm finishing some stuff.
Yeah.
So I've finished recently. Let's make sure. Okay, so I finished 2.5D Seduction. I finished uh Wife Reincarnation thing. I finished the fishing anime. I've completed Don and I completed 365 Days to the Wedding. So I guess I
I'm
can
gonna be
go.
finishing Don to Don probably tomorrow.
I finished it, but yeah. Go in order and then we can talk about Don Don, I guess.
Yeah,
Well, I guess. Yeah.
we can talk about like Don last, since some of we all have in common.
Yep.
2.5D Seduction. Finale is actually really good. Like, I really like Finale. I'll read it at some point. I mean, I've already been saying I was going to read it, but I'll definitely read it at some point.
I've
It's like,
decided I'm just gonna read it.
yeah, it's probably
Not
like,
that the anime is bad or anything. I just
from,
think
from what I could
from the
tell,
episodes I've watched, I feel like I'll enjoy it at least as much reading it,
yeah, like
if not more.
even ignoring like the Gooner censorship or whatever, like which isn't important, and I wonder how much they could even have more in like the manga at this point, and it feels like it's something that like was maybe a focus to start, and then as it got fans, like it less was a thing. But anyway, um, like even ignoring that, like from whenever I did like go to check out like what kind of censorship they did have, like it felt like the manga was more fleshed out. Like certain scenarios that I watched the anime, I'm like, oh, I don't remember them saying that line or like showing this detail or something like that. So yeah, the manga is just like definitely the better way of consuming this, but the anime is like good enough, right? It made me like it at least enough to check out the source material. So um,
Hmm.
it's not like it's in this weird. Um, so I hate like melodramatic stuff, and not that this doesn't have melodrama, but didn't have it so constantly to where it was like problematic to me. It definitely is more over dramatic as like a whole. But I'm
I
fine
think
with.
stuff like that I mind less when I'm reading too.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Which I'll get into when we talk about other shows. But with this, like, there's like one moment I can think of that is like, oh, you know, it's like extremely melodramatic for the situation that we're in right now. But whatever, you know, it's fine. It was just like one little moment in one episode, and then like it's just got a lot of heart behind it. Like I really like the characters, their interactions. It's not like, you know, it's a cosplay anime, but it's not like super detailed into that. Like it's not like a My Dress Up Darling thing where they're like going over like the details of making it or like camera shoots, anything like that. Like it's all very basic. But it's much more about the characters than anything else there. So I really enjoyed it. And I will continue it in some capacity. Next, the Wife Reincarnation one, Sumasho. Um, this is a really difficult one. So it completed the story all in one season, and I don't know how much was skipped in order to accomplish that, or if anything was skipped at all, because I haven't looked at the manga. Seems like it's just normal chapters, so I feel like to complete like 100+ chapters in a single season, I feel like they skipped a lot, which definitely impacted my enjoyment of it because it felt like a lot of times we were just kind of like skipping stones with the story. Um, in 12 episodes, they went over like a year in like real time for them. And so watching these developments, like I'll see like, oh, this person is doing X in this uh episode, and then like a few episodes later, like they've advanced to the next stage of that, which you would have assumed to be like a very long time away. So it's difficult to follow the timeline in this. I talked about the direction I felt was not great. The music didn't really fit. Um, I think it's an interesting story that maybe I would have liked better as a manga. But I think in the end, it has its troubles, but it is an interesting concept with some solid episodes in there. So in the end, I thought it was alright. I'm not going to read it or anything, but I don't regret having watched it. Definitely doesn't deserve any of the flack that it got for its title. It's just an alright
To
show.
be fair, most things with titles
Don't
that
deserve the flack,
yeah,
mostly.
the
Uh,
most deserved was reincarnated in another world as a vending machine because that's what it was.
yeah, like that. Yeah, people weren't like misconstrue. You can't misconstrue that title. That is exactly what the show is. But this one, obviously, people were taking offense to the title without actually knowing anything of the content.
There's only
Uh,
so much I can trust titles ever since I have caught up on Dead Machi and been like, it's actually kind of gas.
yeah. Next up, negative positive angler. This
Fishy.
this shit fell off.
Fishy.
Oh,
It's of the 3 fishing animes I've watched, this is certainly at the bottom of that. I haven't finished one of them, but I'll get to it eventually. But I definitely like it more than this. So, Negative Positive Angler is an anime that sets up its first episode as maybe like a bit of a redemption drama almost. So you have a main character who is in really bad debt because he's an idiot, and then he also has a life-threatening illness on top of that, and you know it's it takes its um serious nature unseriously. It's just not good at drama, which it wasn't mainly a drama, which it should have been mainly a drama. I don't know. Okay, so this falls into, I talked about this before, and I'm gonna make a video on it one day, but anime originals have no idea what the fuck they're doing because they will set up a story that can potentially go somewhere. I liked the first episode, and I thought it had a lot of potential, and then it kind of fumbled around for a while, and then it got to the end. Like it didn't feel like they knew where to take the story that they had set up, and so you have this cast of characters, and none of them mean anything. Like hardly, like the main character, he doesn't develop really at all. I mean, he does, but it's not earned. It's not like earned development. He sucks until the last episode where he's like, I don't suck as bad anymore, actually. And then that is basically it. Um, like I fully thought this was gonna be, you know, a depressed dude who takes up a hobby, kind of gets his life back on track, which technically is what happens, but like he doesn't like show the motions of that. One of the episodes is him really sucking with money. Like he moves in with this guy who's like, okay, I paid off like your debt, but you're gonna have to repay me, obviously. So here's the plan we have set up. You know, you're gonna work with me here. We'll live together, so you don't have to worry about that, and you'll just repay me over time. And in one of the episodes, he takes his paycheck and he spends it on a bunch of shit. That he like for fishing and stuff. Even he's like not even that big into fishing at that point. He just has like an impulse to spend. And the guy's like, all right, let's not do that again. And then he does it again. And then so he like confiscates his paychecks from then on out. But it doesn't really like, go more into that. And it's treated more as a comedy gag in the episode rather than like taking it seriously. I just don't think. I think this is a drama anime with a slice of life script that didn't really know what to do with either of them, and so we just kind of fumbled around with a cast of characters that you don't really like. There's like two characters besides the main character that you might care about,
Mhm.
and even then, like so this blue haired girl Hannah, who you think is gonna be more of like a character. She's like pretty around most of the time, but she doesn't feel like important in any capacity. She's just like the token, like cute anime girl or whatever that is in the original because they need one. Um, and the pink haired guy is also like he's the more important of the two, but even he like kind of feels like an afterthought in some episodes until he's like needed to be something bigger. I just don't feel like the scriptwriters really knew. Or I don't know. I don't know who the if they had multiple script writers, multiple people making the story or whatever. I don't know if they had like too many cooks in the kitchen, what was going on there. But there was not like a coherent vision for this anime, and it showed very much and suffered throughout that. It's watchable, but I think in the end it's just kind of like mid but watchable territory. If I look up script, there's a guy who's listed for script for episode 1 through 11, but that's the only one. So I don't know who scripted 12. Probably the same guy.
Blame him.
But I don't. Funny enough, it's actually the scriptwriter for Freerun.
Uh-oh.
So that's interesting.
Well, I mean, yeah,
But I mean,
director, but yeah.
well, I don't know if he wrote
Okay.
the script. I don't know if he's the one who came up with the story
No, I don't think that's
concept or not.
yeah, yeah.
It's difficult to say, but regardless, I don't think it was good, particularly. So, and the opening sucked. The opening really sucks. That's all I gotta say on that. It's just not the greatest
That's a big
show.
deal.
I very much skipped that opening every time it came on. But yeah, I wanted something more out of this. I expected something more out of this, and much like almost every anime original, my heart was ripped out throughout the season as I realized that this shit kind of sucks. Yeah. I wonder. Actually, I don't remember how many originals I've even seen this year. I'm gonna look into that for a second. Let's see. What browse anime? Fucking source material original. Only show my anime. Look at the year for 2024. Okay, yeah, this is. I haven't finished the cheer one. It's definitely gonna be better than the mahjong one. Oh, and
Yeah.
Metallic Rouge sucked. All right, by default, this is like middle of the pack, but there wasn't much. I don't know. This is probably should be lower than it is, but anime originals tend to not be that great. So, if I had to imagine, this is probably the fourth worst original I've seen of the what's the 7? Yeah, of the 7 originals I've seen, this is fourth. So it's all right, I guess. Anyway, I will skip Dawn to Dawn because we can all talk about it. And then 365 Days of the Wedding. I said earlier, in the chat, or not in our chat, but in Damn Weebs. Let me see what I said. 365 Days finale felt like the plot discovered a walk through walls glitch to progress to the end of the game. And
You just skipped like a bunch of steps.
it just, so here's how I would describe it. think of a roller coaster, right? You start,
Uh-huh.
and there's like you're not going up the hill to start. You're just going forward to start. And then eventually, after maybe like 20 seconds of just going forward, then you start to go up the hill. And then you
Okay.
drop down, and then you gotta wait a little bit. Then there's another like 20-second like straightforward ride. And then you start to go up the hill again. And then you go down. And you gotta wait like another 20 seconds to get to the next hill. And that's what it felt like for it did that like a few times. There would be basically nothing worth your time happening, which at the beginning of the story is more acceptable than like later. Um, Basically nothing would be happening of worth, and then something of worth would happen, and then it wouldn't really lead to anything until it did. But then when it did, it didn't. Then that didn't lead to anything until it did, and then yeah, it just felt like by the end, the payoff, like I should have felt like fuck yeah, let's go. We're schmoving now. But then I get to the end, I'm like, we just dropped off like I don't know, we just went up the really big fucking hill and dropped off, and I'm like, it doesn't feel deserved because we had all that other shit in between. It didn't feel coherent, is what it felt like. It felt like things moved very fast whenever I don't know, dude. It was moving really fast and really slow. Like just two ends of the spectrum that just did not mesh well together. Because it would move really slow and then something would happen. You're like, what the fuck? That just happened? And then like they wouldn't talk about it for like 3 episodes. And then something else would happen. You're like, what the fuck? That just happened? And then it'd go back to doing nothing for 3 episodes. And then like the finale gets there and you're like, that just fucking happened? Like, this is where I expected to be technically, I guess, but it just doesn't feel right, you know? So that's where I was with 365 Days to the Wedding. It was a roller coaster ride. It wasn't very fun, and did not feel rewarding to get to the end of it. It felt like, thank fuck, this is over. I don't know what the manga's like, but I did not really care for the anime too much. It felt very, very bloated and unbloated at the same time.
Unlucky. That does
Yeah.
sound. I think like plot. I guess it's like different from pacing, but yeah, I think that stuff is like low key. I feel like it's not talked about enough. Like it's like very important to like the flow of a story. But yeah,
What, pacing?
I mean, no, I was saying not pacing, but just like the flow of like plot in general. It's just like it's I don't know. I feel like
I
that's
mean,
just
I
something
guess
that's just
I think
not,
there would
yeah.
be pacing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I guess like
yeah,
the proper build up of like uh not cause and effect, but like uh you want to build up to your payoff in a way that makes
yeah,
sense. I don't feel like this
yeah,
did. It felt like every now and
yeah. I
then
guess it would be pacing. Yeah,
it'd be like, oh yeah, we need to like make sure the audience stays interested. Here, let me like here comes the airplane. They like spoon feed you a little bit
Mhm.
of romance, and then you have to
yeah,
wait until the end for like things to happen. And then when it happens,
yeah,
you're like, really, like
yeah,
just like that?
yeah. I guess that would be pacing, but I don't know. Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it was done very well.
I think there's also like with the series a lot. Honestly, a lot of these like rom coms, newer ones that have like real progression, they really like to end seasons with like those big moments, right?
Right.
Which is cool. I get the idea, but I think because of that, a lot of times, like a series will stretch out or, you know, condense content as it feels like it should to, try and go all in basically on building up to that moment, right? But sometimes in doing that, you also kind of cannibalize what actually makes that moment good.
Yeah. I just I do wonder if the manga maybe did things better. Maybe there's a little skipping ahead here. I don't know. Um, because like I just looked at the manga on AniList for a second, looked at a review, and it's like all the characters are very well established. Like I didn't really feel like that It kind of felt like, yep, here's our main characters, you know what they are and what they do, and then here's the other side characters. You're going to recognize him because he looks funny, and then all the other ones you're not really going to care about because they all look generic.
Mm.
And then, like, every now and then they might say a line. Yeah, I don't know. I did not feel invested in this one. But yeah, on to Don, which I finished today because...
I finished this today too.
Yeah,
I'll be
so
watching the last episode tomorrow.
I kind of like bounce between, like, do I want to give this a 7.5 or an 8? I end up with an 8. It might change later, I don't know. But
Yeah,
I don't feel
I
like my
didn't even rate it.
opinion ever changed of this show. Where I'm like, this is fun. You know, there's nothing overly wrong with it. It's very well produced. It does some things very well. But at the same time, it's not like, I'm not looking at this like, yeah, this is anime of the year or anything like that. And
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people are,
I
which is fine. But like,
feel the
I
same.
think I just like plot and like stories,
it
which is like
also,
perfectly fine. It is kind of fun to have something where it's like just kind of, you know, show up for the episode, have some wacky, fun to think whatever happened,
yeah.
and then it's like not some big overarching thing. It's just that was our episode this week.
Yeah, I think one of the difficult things is, especially because like this story right now doesn't really have much of a structure to it. They're just going and doing shit, and the season ends in the middle of an arc, which also does not help. But I feel like I don't need structure because I still enjoyed it overall. But for me to like it more, I just like, I need more than like fun, wacky, zany, colorful,
Yeah.
well animated adventures. Because if I was satisfied with that, I'd like Demon Slayer. So that's just
Yeah.
like where I am right now. I think I generally like the characters and their interactions, but sometimes it can get a little shouty, which, it's anime, it happens, but like every fucking character in this show has like their volume set to 100. I'm not a big fan of the most recent character they've introduced, personally. Um,
Same.
he'll probably find later. But he's a little eccentric for right now. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
I like it. I don't love it.
I'm kind of the same way. I think my opinion kind of changed. I feel like the novelty kind of wore off as time went on because
Yeah, in
like
the middle of the season, you're like, this shit's gas. I love this show. Enjoy
yeah,
watching.
I mean I still do really like it. I think one thing about the show, like I can't analyze it on a very deep level, but I will say that like it managed to keep me very, very entertained throughout, and for that you get points for that. So but yeah, I think the novelty kind of wore off, but I think it was still entertaining throughout. So I mean, I liked it. I didn't wasn't upset. I mean, I really loved it in the middle. I think yeah, again the novelty wore out, but I still like it. Like I don't regret watching it. I think it was just like a really, really good show.
I mean,
Like
I don't
all
regret
the
watching it. I'm gonna watch season 2 in July when that comes out.
yep, for
Like,
sure. Um yeah, a lot of the just like small things in the animation were really, really nice. There was like one scene that just like stood out to me, but I forgot. It was just like a
I just love the use of color that they do.
that yeah, that's too. Yeah, the
Like
scene you're
the
talking about was like a camera angle
composition,
thing, but the color is very good too. Yeah,
yeah, the color composition in the show
Mhm.
is absolutely phenomenal.
And it's like a very unique art style too, which is like or like a not unique art style, but like some of the decisions in the art are unique, which I really, really like. So, um, but yeah, I don't know, really good show. Just yeah, nothing,
I
nothing to
don't want to
complain
come
about.
across as like too negative, but it's just
No,
like,
yeah,
uh, I think it's something that I like that a lot of people really love, and maybe at some point I will try to think if there's like a show that I'm like, yeah, I like this, but I don't like, or like at least one that's like really popular at the start. Where I'm like, I don't really get it, and then I got it later. Because like Don Machi, I was whatever on, and then like season 3 onward, I'm like, wait, this shit might be gas, but that's different. Like it didn't have the same level of popularity as this. Um, I don't know. I don't know if there's any show where I'm like, where I was iffy on it at the start, and then, well, maybe Apothecary Diaries. I liked Apothecary Diaries, but I wasn't like, this is like Anime of the Year material or something like that. And then the second core hit, and I'm like, wait, maybe this is Anime of the Year material. Um, Maybe the same with UFO as well, though UFO's not probably quite as big. I don't know. Is UFO niche?
UFO is also a
I would
little.
say UFO's probably
It's
niche.
pretty niche. Yeah. UFO is also maybe a little different because there's like that little bit of also expectation of like Mars and I trying to get you to watch it, and other people trying to get you to watch it, and we're all like, yeah, this shit's goated.
I mean, it's highly rated for a reason.
Yeah.
I definitely liked it more as it went on, probably.
But I think there's always like that little bit of pressure with stuff like that early on, if you're like not quite sure if you're feeling it, to kind of like almost not overthink that, but kind of almost overreact to that feeling of like, yeah, I don't know if I'm into this yet.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked about it last episode, where like, dude, if I gave Dawn a 7 point, like I was doing a media thread on Twitter where I'm like, this is what I completed, this is what I rated it and why. If I put Dawn as a 7.5 on Twitter, oh my god, dude, they come for my head. They come for this podcast too. Like they probably kill both of you just like just to threaten me. Like that's just kind of the world we live in, where I can be like, I like this thing, just not quite as much as everyone else, and then I'm gonna catch a lot of
pancake versus waffle thing. Well, I mean, I
yeah.
guess it's not,
I
but
mean,
it's like kind of
well,
like
that's kind of the same thing. We're like,
yeah.
you know, I like pancakes. Like, I did not
Oh,
say
that
I.
means you
I
don't like waffles.
I don't get a fucking
Yeah.
tweet. I'm trying to get the wording right.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's like a it's a common thing where you just say you like
Yeah,
something, but
Twitter,
it's
the
like
only place where well-articulated sentences still get misinterpreted. You can say, I like pancakes, and somebody says, so you hate waffles? No, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. What are you talking about? Yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, where, like, I'm not really saying, if, like, looking at a number, people are like, 7.5, and then, like, try and kill me, where it's like,
The
7.5
problem is
is, like,
7.5 should be a good score, but it's not
7.5 is
because
above average. I thought it was an above average anime, and somebody might kill me for that. Even 7 is like pretty good, especially in my rating system. Like a lot of people like just give shit. Like I saw earlier on the timeline, where someone was like, "Yeah, it was alright, I guess." You know, I like the manga more, but it was still like good enough for like what it was. 8 out of 10. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Like, what do you mean 8 out of 10? You just said it was alright. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't know. People have their own ratings. Like fucking Spat, like he will say he didn't like. I mean, I still can't believe you watched this season of Love Live, but you watched it and you gave it a 75 out of 100. But like for you, that's not good, and for me, that would be like pretty good.
my
for
rating
me
is a
that's
lot
kind of
better.
not good either. I mean, I think like a 70 is still for me is still a show I enjoyed, but it's certainly not like a good rating
But
for
my
me.
opinion on it was very much lower than that, so I need to adjust that. I just like I'm just doing it relative to the others I've seen, and so it's like I rate everything that's like halfway decent, like at upper 80s, lower 90s, because
I mean,
my scale's fucked up. 75 or whatever. What was it? 70, 75? It's
the
like
75.
terrible. It's terrible. Like Loki, Heike, terrible.
Yeah, like
But yeah,
7 is where I kind of put like all my like
I should do that.
my slice of life. Like I liked it. It's not like that gas, but it's good enough
Nope.
type of thing. Like that's where the do-it-yourselfs go. That's where the fucking I have some Gochumons in there. I don't lie about my Gochumon is not. I mean, it is the zenith of fiction, obviously. But I'm not gonna like lie and give it a 10 out of 10. I just like it. Um, yeah, it's just how it goes. But the way I do things is not the way other people do things. So if I went on to Twitter right now, I tweeted dun dun 7.5. I'm waking up the next morning with death threats in my DMs or something.
Death threats. It's crazy.
It's
Hopefully
probably
that
true.
doesn't actually happen.
I mean, I'm
Um,
not gonna say it, but I mean, I'm gonna make a top anime video for the year, and dun dun dun, I don't know where it's gonna fall,
will not
but
make it.
probably won't be high enough to some people's likings. Like I had, I mean, this person didn't leave like a very hateful message or anything, but I had Dangers in My Heart season 1 in my top 15 last year, and they're mad at me for not having it higher. I'm like, dude, it's in my top echelon
It's
here.
here.
It's here.
Yeah.
It's on the list. Like, would you want me to put it at fucking 60? Like, It wasn't even 15. I don't remember where the fuck I put it. It was somewhere in the teens, I think. Maybe 12 at worst or some shit like that. Or best, I don't know. I think it might have been 13, maybe. I don't know. But, I mean, it's not like it was low by any fucking means. Like, you know, let me open the fucking Google Doc right now. I'm sure I have the script somewhere.
Stuff like that just annoys me because it's like
It was 14. But still pretty good.
not everything has to be the top dog.
Yeah, like there's some very good shows that I have like Apothecary Diet. I mean, that was the first core, but it's at 6, and that's definitely gonna rise when I do my video again. But, like, I really like Danmachi 4 Part 2. That's over 7. Like, that's, you know, not like the super top, but it's top 10. Like, fuck, dude. Like, you know, it's pretty good considering like all the anime that come out in a year or something like that. Like, I don't know how many in total have come out in 2024. But let's see. Okay, it's not going to tell me the numbers for what I've completed in 2024, but whatever. I mean, I've watched enough stuff to be like, here's the top 15, and you should be able to, like, be happy that the show that you like is in there. Because it's a pretty exclusive. Like, I left out some pretty decent shows in 2023 from my top 15 because they just so happen to not, you know, be quite good. Like, even like rating wise, like I had a few more 8s in there, but I just didn't quite like Horimiya Piece. You know, I liked Horimiya Piece. I gave it an 8, but it didn't make my top 15 because I thought there were 8s that were more worthy. I did favor some of the newer stuff. Like, I mean, I gave Spy Classroom Season 2 an 8. I gave Bofuri Season 2 an 8. They just didn't quite make the list. They're still good. I still love them, but they just didn't quite make the list. Not to mention some of the 7.5s I had were pretty good in there. Just anime, there's a lot of people don't understand how much diversity is in the medium because they stick to a select few things, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, some of my friends they watch a lot of shonen, so I always feel kind of left out because like, I mean, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, we talked about this before, but it's like it's like Naruto. I mean, JJK is kind of like a lot of appeal for all anime watchers, but like Naruto, Bleach, you know, that Bleach.
It's like, whoa, guys, did you see the new Bleach episode? And Spat's like, yeah, I watched the latest episode of Sweet Reincarnation.
Yeah, that always feels weird. It always feels like I understand why it exists. That like separation from like, I don't know, different kinds of anime watchers, or like maybe the people that I talk to about anime, like you guys, but like,
I mean, it's like
people just only watch shonen. Yeah,
it's simply like the casual viewer versus like you talk to me and I have like anime girls on my bookshelf or whatever. You know, it's just like there's a difference that can't be overcome there. Yeah,
and it's just the nature of like what shows were marketed here in the West too. So yeah, yep. So that's always interesting. Another thing that came up for me, or I guess that I mentioned it last time, but I was watching Mob Psycho. I'm on I finished 6 yesterday. Somewhat halfway through. It's 12. So
yeah.
I think it's 12. Yeah. So I'm halfway through. Dude, it's actually really good. Like, I actually really like it so far. There's like the scene in episode 5 that's like super epic. And then episode 6 was like, I don't know, you kind of learn more about some of the characters. So I really like it so far. So I feel like I'm gonna like it by the end. And
have you gotten to the club yet? I'm trying to think of what episode. The bodybuilding club.
Yeah, I mean,
it can't be that.
Yes, that
like that deep. I feel like
it can't be that
like
deep.
It should be
I
very early.
No, yeah, I mean, yes, I have gotten to that part. It was the part where like episode 5 was he meets the other dude with the what was episode 5? Meets the other dude with
oh, like the rival school or whatever.
Yeah, and
okay,
then
you definitely have met the. I love the bodybuilding.
Yeah,
club.
I met. I thought you guys were referencing something that like happens more. But
it's like pretty early. I thought
Yeah.
that episode was fucking
That was
hilarious.
like episode 2 or something. 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I don't
like
know. Whatever.
this whole that is like something I think season 1 is probably the weakest of the 3, but it's something I always found funny. Is like you expect this whole time like Mob he's gonna end up joining this like a cult club. He gets to the end, he's like, "Yep, I'm gonna join." He joins the fucking bodybuilding club. And I thought that shit was so funny, but
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, it'll get better as it goes on for you.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm excited. So I'll keep watching that. I might finish it low key, high key by the next
Is it
time.
low-key or high-key?
We,
You have to pick one.
dude, I don't know why I've been saying that. I've been saying low key, high key so much.
Where's medium? Where's just
Brain rot,
key?
bro. Yeah, just keep middle key. But yeah, next time we record, I may have finished Mob Psycho by that point. So maybe I can give an actual review of season 1. We'll see.
Speaking of finishing, actually, you know that came out. Speaking of being done with things, that's gonna be the end of this episode. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We had a pretty. I think the article talk went well. I liked. I didn't. Sometimes we bring things up and then we talk about them for like 5 minutes and it's like, oh fuck. But we had like 50 minutes probably worth of discussion around that article, so I enjoyed that. Very topical. Now we can save things for next week probably.
Are we shopping next week?
That is a great question. I guess we probably are actually. We should.
It's weird because it's also like, I guess neither episode's really the Christmas episode because this is a couple days before.
Yeah,
that'll be a couple days after.
Yeah, this will be a few days before, and then they'll be after. We had a Christmas themed episode in the first. What do you call it?
The first blog.
The first year.
Yeah, where we were at the Christian anime blog. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
maybe we're shopping next week. We'll find out.
I think probably we'll talk about it more. But yeah, that'll be the end of this episode. If you enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe, rate 5 stars, all that good stuff, whatever platform you're on. If you're on the audio only side of things, you'd like to go to the YouTube. Is the Order and Anime Podcast. We are the only one. Same thing from YouTube to the audio only. Order is the Order and Anime Podcast. Can't possibly miss us. Every Saturday, 3 p.m. EST, without fail, except for when we do, there will be a new episode out for you to enjoy. So once again, thank you for listening, and we hope to see you in another episode. Thank you, and goodbye.